I think I got that right. And then there's a button here I'm supposed to hit. I think it's this one. Hey there, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it might be in your part of the world. Look at that. I've got some really cool chroma key effects going. I hope you're having a fantastic Thursday. My name is Jeff Fritz. I'm gonna try and fix this camera thing here real quick. How's it going out there? This is C Sharp with CSharpFritz. This is where we have a bit of a discussion, where we get to hang out a little bit. We get to talk as developers. We're going to talk about tech. We're going to learn more about C Sharp and programming languages and tools that we can use to be better developers. And today, we're going to start a new series. We talked about the cloud and various things you can do on Microsoft Azure for the last month or so. We're going to move forward and we're going to talk for the next few weeks about various tools that you can use as a developer and build with C Sharp. Now, we're going to focus on the tools made by Microsoft because this is a Microsoft channel. There are a bunch of other tools out there in the community that are available for you to use. We're going to leave it to those folks to be able to support and talk about those things. There are other people that have great sessions about that, but we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about Visual Studio 2022. We're going to talk a little bit about where Visual Studio came from and get you some tips and tricks out there. I've got more than 100 tips, hotkeys, various tools and features inside Visual Studio that we're going to talk about today that you can use to be a better developer. This is a hat that I made. I was invited to be part of the Visual Studio 2019 launch back in April 2019, and for the occasion, I had a hat made with the new at the time Visual Studio 2019 logo, and wore it in studio. Made another hat or two to give out to a couple folks, but I'm known for having a one-off hat made for myself and friends. Let me say hello to the folks that are in the chat room. They're right over here. Look at them all wandering in here. Hello there to everybody. My goodness, TC Coders here on YouTube. Steven, hope you're doing well in Australia. Have a fantastic evening there. VJ is here from India. Hello, hello. Mahmood, how's it going there? Mahmood asks, where am I located? Anyone from the United States? Yes, I'm dialed in and watching. Watching? I'm just watching. I don't know. I'm just going to watch the chat room for a bit over here. No, I'm broadcasting from Philadelphia on the East Coast of the United States. So I dropped a message there before chat to see where folks were dialed in from. Eduardo is here from El Salvador. How you doing there? Too much hassle on Twitch. Ro, how you doing there? Lacindu, how's it going? M. Pulowski is watching from the Pacific Northwest on Twitch. Roro is watching from Korea. ED is watching from Germany. So we've got Korea, Germany, El Salvador. We've got folks from Australia. We've got a pretty good group here. TC Coders in Washington, D.C. Fatlum is here from Kosovo. How's it going there? DJ Deepax, good to see you in Germany. You like the hat? Thank you. Appreciate it. Back to Net is here from the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. I'm assuming, right? That's what you mean by DRC. Sinzi Mac is here from Scotland. Fantastic. Lacindu, how's it going in Sri Lanka? Babakar from Senegal. Hayden UK from Luton in the UK. Hope you're having a great day. I saw a couple folks now from the UK over there. Nalapati, how's it going? Meebe from Dayton. Chuck is watching from Atlanta. Rai Hines from Germany. So we got a couple folks from Germany. VJ is watching from Pune, India. Fantastic. Babakar, how's it going there in France? From France. Oh, and then there's another Babakar from Senegal. Look at that. Mohammed's watching from Australia. Fantastic. We've got a couple of Australians watching today. Fernando in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Renee is from the rainy Cagayan de Oro City in the Philippines. Ricardo in Jamaica. Oh my goodness. I would love to get to Jamaica this summer. It's not going to happen this time, but I would love to get to Jamaica. Omen Sock, how are you in Germany? George is here from Belgium. You love the content. Thank you, George. Metal Jace in Cambridge. Yeah, oh my gosh, look at the folks from the UK here. Simac, how's it going in Newcastle? Ola Wasagan is in the UK as well. Pranav is in India. Thank you so much. My goodness, we got folks from all over tuned in. That is fantastic. It's great to have you here. We're in our little bit of AMA time here. We've got about 36 minutes more that we're just gonna handle ask me anything types of questions. Unlike other folks that present and teach and interact on various channels here, I want to talk to you. I want to hear what questions you have about Azure and .NET and Visual Studio. We just finished Microsoft Build last month. You've no doubt tried some of the new things that are out there. You've gotten into some of the previews. Maybe you're new to .NET. Maybe you're new to C#. I had somebody yesterday ask not just how do I get started, but where can I find mentors and where can I connect with folks to continue my learning journey? And there's Discord chat rooms and servers. There's folks that are online in various tech communities, Stack Overflow, the Microsoft tech community. There's places out there that you can find other folks that are talking about that and typing and responding. But I want to make sure that you know you got a friend in Jeff here that's going to be here at least once a week. I'll be streaming on Twitch a couple other days a week as well, and ready to talk and answer questions, get you pointed in the right area, and also encourage the chat room to collaborate as well. Let me get some music playing, and then I'll come back and pick up some more of those messages that have been dropped in chat there so we can continue the discussion. I'm going to go to the Stream Beats Lo-Fi playlist today. This is a perfect song for me to start with, called Coffee and You. If you've been watching this stream for some time, you know it's 9 o'clock here on the East Coast of the United States. I'm enjoying a fine cup of roasted bean water to get us started here. Not Starbucks, but Green Mountain and other flavors. Hope you're having a fantastic day. This is Stream Beats. Learn more about them at streambeats.com. All kinds of genres of music available for you there. There we go. All right, let me catch up a little bit more with chat now that we have some music playing. A little groovy there in the background. Yeah, it's not bad. Let me see here. So, Gabriel from Brazil. Good to see you, Gabriel, on YouTube. Lucindu writes, it's good to see a YouTuber interacting with the audience this much. Thank you. If I didn't want to talk to the audience, I wouldn't be live streaming. I would have just recorded, edited, and eliminated the places where I mess up and I have my camera not configured right and so on and so forth. I'd record and make it really, really nice and produce it well. I want to talk to you. I want you to know that I'm a real person out here that writes code just like you do and wants to make sure that you're successful. Share the things that I've learned and how I interact with the .NET team and have some fun with it along the way. So, yeah, listen to, you're right. Hey there, PG in Poland. Hello. Pranav says, I've seen all your videos and I'm very famous in your group. Thank you, Pranav. That's very kind. Jonathan is here from Peru. Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. I can't read the Cyrillic, but hello to you in Russia. Jayudeep in India. Roro has a curious question. Not a problem. Go ahead, lay it on me. Alu the Crow on Twitch. How's it going there, my friend? Sabari asks, please guide me. I'm a non-coder. Okay. What do you want to do with your coding knowledge? When you learn how to write software, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to write an application that runs on Windows or Mac, or do you want to write a phone app? Do you want to write a game? Do you want to build a website, a cloud service, the next social media network? What do you want to do with that knowledge once you learn how to write code? That'll help steer where you want to go with it, because there's so many things you can do, and as an entry level, trying to figure out where you'd like to go is going to help steer that and get you pointed in the right direction. Hey there, Briarios on Twitch. Hello. Roro is looking for a solution because he can't restart IIS on the production server. Why can't you restart your web server? Your web service on your production web server? What's going on there? There's a couple ways that you can force that to restart. Let me know. Fuel Snable on Twitch says interaction is important as well. I watched a very interesting live interview on YouTube between two juggernauts, but they didn't interact with chat, so I lost interest. I agree. An interview with someone I would love to produce as a podcast, and then you can comment on those later, and that's fun. Folks download and really enjoy podcasts, discussions. And folks like to publish podcasts out to YouTube as well. It's a bit of a monetization trick to do. But I agree. If there's a live interview, let's pause every 5-10 minutes, take a couple of moderated questions from chat, and discuss them. There might be something interesting there that chat wants to steer the discussion towards that folks can learn from. Sabari wants to learn .NET from scratch. Please guide and give a route map. Without a real guidepost of where you want to go to .NET. Click on the Learn button up at the top, and it's going to show you all the various options there to learn. Different ways to get in and start traversing through languages, concepts, frameworks. Pick a starting point. There's even just base starting points in video that you can follow with my good friend Scott Hanselman, who will get you started with some nice recorded videos and hand off to other topics. If you want to learn C#, this video series, there's a playlist here with this guy talking that you can watch, where it's this exact same format, stepping through and teaching the programming language, various frameworks, and in 2-hour segments. Now, it's the discussion model. Some folks like very quick 5-minute videos that get right to, hey, explain this concept. I have other videos like that also that are not part of this series, but this series is more of a discussion and focused on in sharing with each other what we've learned, what problems we run into, and finding solutions together. Alexander, good to see you in the Philippines. Hello, hello. TC Coder on YouTube asks, how do you determine what tech stack tools to use to build an application when I'm in the planning stages of creating an application? I just choose C# each time. No, don't do that. You should, but no, don't do that. When you're in the planning stages of creating an application, this is now where we get into some computer science theory. There are some folks who believe in building out from the inside, and there are some folks who believe in building from the outside in. Let me explain. Building from the inside out means I'm going to figure out the internal mechanisms of this thing that I'm going to build. And then I'm going to put a front-end application user interface on that. If you were writing an application for a blog, right? Heck, let's even go with something that we're looking at right here. If you were going to write an application for the video streaming service you're watching this on right now, what would your approach be? Would you start with building a data storage mechanism to store the video so that it can be played back in the future? Well, once you have that data storage mechanism, you then need to build pieces to save videos, and you need to build pieces to play videos. Okay. Sometime after that, then you start building a user interface in front of that. That's what I mean by inside out. You're building the innermost pieces that folks can't really interact with all the way to the outside, and deciding that. Planning that, deciding what those features are, is where I start. I don't even think about tech stack. until I start going through what are the features that we want. When I say outside in, that's the approach of, well, let me build the user interface of what it is that I want to deliver, how I want my customers, my users to interact with my system. I'm going to define that. So if I'm building this platform that you're watching on, well, I'm going to put some sort of a video player on a web page, or let's start with a web page. That's easy to build with. I'll put a video tag and I'm going to have that load video from somewhere. Well, I don't really need a storage mechanism for that. Maybe I can just put video down on disk somewhere and just point to that and say, play that video. And I can give folks a list of here's the videos on disk. Okay. Now I need to start allowing people to upload videos and finding out how to play those back. And I'm working from the interface that folks interact with from outside in. So how you plan your application using one of those two techniques is one part of it. And as you go through and you start thinking about that set of features, you're going to start discovering capabilities that you need. You're going to start discovering features, requirements, business needs that happen. Gosh, how do we pay for all this file storage? Where does this live on the network? How do we deliver that content? Those are all big questions that you need to solve. Those are questions that, quite frankly, as developers, we might not know how to solve. And you consult and bring in somebody who specializes in operations. Then, once you're ready to start writing code, then we start picking a tech stack. As a .NET developer, I know and I'm comfortable knowing that I've got tools that allow me to build and target pretty much anything. Unless there's a serious gap in the tools that I have and where I want to take my application, because .NET is so widely accessible and available to build so many different things, I can use that as a good starting point for just about everything. Just about. There are other applications and models where you know what you're going to get into, thinking about what those requirements are, and it might be more attractive to use C++, Go, JavaScript, Python to build those applications. Okay. That said, I can still prototype a bit with .NET to at least get me past an initial concept. Then, okay, do we need to shift? Do we need to figure out where to go from here? But I'm pretty confident and comfortable that the .NET tool set is going to get you a lot of different places. Great question, TC Coder. Thank you so much for that. I'm doing well. Thank you, Pranav. Let me see here. Continuing to scroll through the questions. Hayden has been in testing and test automation for 22 years and love it. That's great, Hayden. Oh my gosh. Absolutely something to be said for those folks who know how to analyze applications and can see where the seams in the applications are and where they need to test and ensure that our applications are robust and are going to handle the stresses of users interacting with it. Stephen has a question. I use Parallels on an M1 Mac Mini for Visual Studio development, but there are a lot of things that don't work due to the ARM architecture. Would I recommend getting a Windows desktop laptop? The latest versions of Visual Studio include an ARM build. You can download Visual Studio for ARM. We announced that at Build, and you can work with that now. Our friend Jeremy Sinclair, who's a big fan of working on ARM processors, was quite excited about that. Check it out. There is indeed, you shouldn't have to get a Windows desktop. You should be able to work on the ARM architecture there. Hey, Chris Jones on Twitch. Good to see you. Pranav on YouTube asks, why Blazor has caching issue? Can I explain? I need a little bit more context there. What kind of a caching issue are you seeing? And what type of Blazor are you working with? Are you working with Blazor server side or are you working with Blazor WebAssembly? I'm guessing you're working with Blazor WebAssembly, and it does have caching capabilities so that you're not constantly re-downloading the Blazor DLLs and things, but it should push a new version when the next time somebody refreshes the browser. See, there's ways that you can force the browser to refresh inside Blazor and force that re-download to happen. But I want to get a little bit more context from your question there, Pranav. Obala, oh my goodness, I'm going to get your name right. Obala and Sarad asks, I just went through my Fritz's first MVC video, or the first part. Thank you for the videos and you're very welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed that. There's plenty more where that came from. Will I make a video on, Babakar asks, will I make a video on how to use Azure Service Bus to connect microservices using gRPC or maybe both? Didn't I do a session on Service Bus? I did. I didn't specifically call out gRPC. I thought I used functions and Service Bus triggers in there. Let me know. I have a couple ideas for videos to record here, and I'm going to get into more of those next week. I've got tomorrow. I'm going to be hosting a workshop on my Twitch channel. Build your first web application. We're going to start at the very basics. HTML, CSS. We're going to get into a little bit of ASP.NET and wrap up day 1 with that. Day 2, we're going to be focused on Blazor, and we're going to teach you how to build an application with Blazor WebAssembly. It's the Blazor Blazing Pizza workshop. It's going to be the last time I'm delivering this version of the workshop before .NET 8 is released, and Blazor takes some significant enhancements with .NET 8. That's coming up. There's a bunch of sponsors that have prizes they're giving away throughout the day for you to sign up and participate in those giveaways. That's tomorrow on my Twitch channel, Twitch TV/CSharpFritz. That's June 22nd, 2023. For those of you that are watching on the recording, sorry, you might have missed that. How you doing there, Thin Doll on Twitch? Eric is here on Twitch as well. Eric Van Arts Dallin. Ideally, wouldn't you start with a clear vision of the problem you're trying to solve? Build things modularly so new or better libraries come on, you can swap them out. Eric, going back to the architecture application design question. So, clear vision is a bit of a misnomer. What you start building for your application today is going to be influenced by the technical community of tomorrow. Don't design past what a minimum viable product is for your new application. What's the minimum things that we need to get this thing going? If we're designing a video service like this, well, we need the ability to save videos, playback videos. It'd be nice for folks to be able to upload videos. Okay, so we need to be able to have folks sign up, upload videos, playback videos. Gosh, at some point we may need to do. We may need to be able to change the resolution of the videos, right? And be able to send those out at lower resolution for folks at lower bandwidth. Is that all that I need to get started? Well, yeah, okay, let's get started with that. And then phones are released that can run their own applications. Well, gosh, we should have a phone app that goes with our new Fritz video streaming service. Okay, so let's build a phone app. Well, what are the requirements of the phone app? Well, do we want people to be able to upload videos from the phone app and stream them? No, they just want to view from now. Okay, start there. Gosh, the videos coming off of these cameras now are really good. We should enable them because now people can record really high quality videos from their cameras. Okay, now we have new features. So I would advocate when you design a system, you need to look, especially one that's going to be available to the public that folks are interacting with, you need to look at most 6 months ahead when you look at what's my minimum viable product. because the technologies will change. And to your point, Eric, libraries and features and capabilities change as well, and you're going to want to adapt and use those new capabilities. Gosh, now that we have a video system that folks can play videos off and upload videos to, maybe we should add some capabilities to moderate these. Okay, well, wouldn't it be cool if we could automatically moderate with a little bit of AI so that it says, here's the types of content that are in the videos that are uploaded, and so on and so forth. So I agree with you. Have a clear vision up to a certain point, because features are going to change and enhance and grow, and your requirements are not going to stay the same. It's a very good discussion around methodology. Hey, Pablo Squared, hello to you in California. Pablo's an Azure Cloud Architect, loving the Tech Talk. Thank you, Pablo. Glad you're having a great day. Enjoy a little bit of coffee this morning as you're getting ready for your day. ED on YouTube asks, are there any cool tools that can preview Blazor components or pages visually? My friends at Progress Software have a tool that they call the Blazor REPL. This is a tool that you can use in the browser, navigate to, you can bring in NuGet packages, structure pages, and as you're writing code, it will build and run those and show you what it looks like all live in the browser. They also, I believe they also have plugins for Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code. Check it out. That's Progress Software, and they call it the Blazor REPL. If somebody has a link for that, can they drop it in chat for me? But that's where I would go to check out. Obalan Sarad asks, are any good tips on learning design patterns? Any book I could listen to or a good guide I'd point to? I did a series on design patterns as part of this video series. I think I did 6 videos on the solid principles. You can check those out here. A guide, a book or a guide. Check out my friend Steve Smith. He is Ardalis on Twitter, on Twitch, on GitHub, ARDALIS. He has a fantastic blog where he writes up about various, let me make sure I got that right, about various design patterns and the like. And I will drop that link to his blog there in chat so you can find Ardalis. He talks about, he's got an amazing series of articles where he talks about various design patterns and techniques. Ray Bundio on YouTube asks, is there a way to host a Blazor server app cheap? You can, if you use Azure App Service, there is a free model that you can use that will give you 60 minutes of processor time that you can run. It's a very small app service, but you can run Blazor for free out there. There are small instances that you can get for $15 American out there. And of course, if you're signing up for a brand new Azure account, you can get, I forget how much, you can get a block of app service free for a year to get started. So use that knowledge however you need to. But yeah, there's a couple of free options to host that. If you were hosting Blazor WebAssembly, Azure Static Web Apps is always free up to a certain amount of requests and network traffic. Then you have to pay, and it's like millions of requests before you start having to pay for network traffic. DJ Deepex asks, when you debug a Blazor app, you can right-click the refresh button of the browser to clear the cache. Sure. Control F5 does that as well. Yes. Yep, 10 sites with low server resources for free on Azure. You can get up to 10. Yes. Renee asks, tell me more about Blazor United. Okay, so the next version of .NET 8, it's going to be released in November, includes an update to Blazor that takes a bit of the feedback we've had about Blazor. Blazor's been around since .NET Core 3.1, so what is that? 4 years? 3 years. We didn't have a .NET 4. So 3.1, 5, 7, and now 8. And in experiment mode before that. So Blazor was available in both server and WebAssembly models. And the question is, well, gosh, I need to decide where I want my application to run. Wouldn't it be great if I could host a little bit on the server, host a little bit in the browser, and run appropriately depending on how much network bandwidth there is, how much processing power is on the machine. And that's what .NET 8 and Blazor United is. You can specify where you want the code to run. Have it run on the server, and then you can have it search engine optimized. The search engines will discover and run that code and see the HTML that's delivered. Stream the web API, WebAssembly content into the browser as folks are interacting with that first pre-rendered bit of code that ran on the server. And it will pick up and you'll get the higher performance, low latency in-browser interaction with the application. There's a bunch of options you can configure with that to allow your code to run in either location, WebAssembly in the browser or on the server. And that control on a single code base, one project type, instead of having to mix and match various project types. It's a very powerful concept. Folks in other JavaScript frameworks have been trying to do this for years with not so much luck. But you're going to see it in November. It's in previews now. You can watch my friends on the ASP.NET community stand up. Particularly look for Dan Roth talking about the new updates coming with Blazor. You can find those videos on the .NET YouTube channel. Ray on YouTube asks, if you were a developer trying to bootstrap an app, how would you go about that? I would look at all the free services that I can and where can I start with those free services. I might be a developer that's bootstrapping an app right now. Cliptalk, KLIPTOK.com. That's my application. That's just me working on that. Figure out where you can start for free, how your tools interact with it, and takes advantage and delivers the value that you want. Oba, fantastic. I will do that. Pranav, working with Blazor WebAssembly. So what you can do to kind of, you can put some sort of a timer into the Blazor app so that every now and again it checks an image, a file that you have saved to the server, and if it doesn't match the version that you're expecting, force the browser to refresh, right? Put up some sort of a message. Hey, this is out of date. Click here to refresh, and you just do a window refresh. You can force that to happen. And that's an approach. With the tools that I typically build around Cliptalk, which is all Blazor WebAssembly, it's usually backwards compatible to the APIs that I've deployed. If not, a little error message appears that says, hey, there was an error, click here to refresh. And it refreshes and they get a new version of the app at that point. So, I'm the genius of geniuses, says TC Coder. That's very kind. Thank you. Pranav is, yeah, okay, we got through there. Roro with a question. To persuade someone to upgrade a program developed in .NET Framework 4.5 to .NET 7, what technical explanation should be provided? Here we go. .NET Framework 4.5 was delivered, I want to say 2012. It's literally 10 years old. All of the capabilities that are in there are available in .NET 7, except for web forms and WCF. But everything else is over there. And there's also ML.NET. There's also enhanced security capabilities. There's also cross-platform development, the ability to deploy and orchestrate with containers. There is a ton of new features if you are upgrading an application to .NET 7. In addition, if you're building a Windows application that was built with .NET 4.5, Windows Forms, WPF, you can now bring the framework with it. You don't have to require this Windows machine must have .NET Framework 4.5 installed. You can bring .NET 7, and you can even bundle .NET 7 into the exe so you deploy one file. Your app.exe, it contains a compressed, tree-shaken version of the framework inside that exe that it decompresses, puts down on disk somewhere else. But you can deploy then one file and it just runs. So not only are you getting significantly improved speed, performance, ability to code a heck of a lot easier, cross-platform capabilities, machine learning capabilities with ML.NET, the ability to deploy with containers. It's a significant update that you are going to realize immediately amazing benefits from. That's where I would go, Roro. What is the YouTube channel I referred to for HTML, CSS? The one that I'm teaching is on Twitch, Twitch TV/CSharpFritz, and that'll be tomorrow. There are other videos on the Microsoft Developer channel to help folks get started with HTML and CSS. So, Thindall suggests, coming back to the application, bootstrapping an application discussion, release early, release often, react to user usage, and feedback. Yes. How you doing there? Min asks, how to transform C# Windows Forms to the web. It's not easy to do. The folks who work on Project Uno have some tools to help you with that. As well with Project Avalonia have tools for that. It's two different paradigms, so you're going to have some challenges doing that. I would suggest refactoring a little bit to an MVC type of model or an MVVM architecture so that you can take your models and view models, move them into class libraries, and then swap out the view, the user interface part from Windows Forms to whatever web framework you want to be. It's not going to be a trivial migration to do that. Yes, check the interest, Thindall says. If no one but you is interested in what you've built, don't put 3 years into it. Agreed. I've almost put 3 years into ClipTalk at this point. Is anybody interested in that? Should I continue investing in it? I use ClipTalk as a model to teach from. I also use it as an example of new technologies, new techniques. So even if I'm the only one that uses it, the value that I get out of it for teaching folks is worth it. Coffee is on the way, says Pablo. I like where you're going there. I like it. Thank you, Low Viz, with the link to the Blazor REPL from Telerik. Caesar Squires, good morning to you. You're completely new to coding and starting with C#, reading Rob Miles' book to help get started. Any other resources I'd recommend? Keep your eye on, you are watching on Twitch, keep your eye on the Visual Studio channel. There's more discussion content that you'll find about latest things happening, more developer talk radio. Check out the .NET YouTube channel. There's all kinds of educational material over there that will get you up to speed and show you live demos of various tools, tips, and tricks, just like we're going to do here today. So youtube.com/.net. We're streaming over there as well right now. I'm streaming on 2 services. You should see the Restream bot popping up there, whether you're on YouTube, you're on Twitch, with messages from the other service so that you can kind of chat with each other across the 2 services we're streaming to. My videos are very... well, thank you so much, Oba. Appreciate that. VJ asks, any links or inputs for architecture beginners? Off the top of my head, no, not right now. I've only got a few minutes left, so I'm going to have to pass on that question. I would start at learnmicrosoft.com and look at some of the architecture stuff. There are a couple of architecture books on learn.microsoft.com. My colleague Nish helped coordinate and deliver those. I wrote one of those books. It's my second book that I wrote. But you can find those over on it's the learn.net architecture. Oh, come on. The .NET architecture guides. Here we go. And I'll drop this link into chat. It's a series of ebooks that you can follow up on. And I believe there's samples to go with it as well that you can follow. Hello to you, Digital Lab for Africa in Senegal. Good to see you. Hey, Alan. Looking forward to showing how to activate intelligence for jQuery in Visual Studio. It never works. What do you mean by intelligence? Let me know. Yeah, Azure App Service is a fantastic platform. $200 for use in 30 days. What do you... I'm missing the context. Let's see here. How about hybrid apps, asks Eric Van Artstalen. Maui and Blazor living in hybrid. It's a fantastic approach so that web developers can build native applications. There's gaps there where you're going to need to resort to native capabilities on those platforms, and that's why it's hybrid, so that you can pull in some of those native features from the phone, from Windows, from Mac OS, and take advantage of those. I think it's a very valid approach, and as the framework improves, you're going to see better tooling, better performance, better capabilities delivered with that. So we're very early in the Blazor hybrid model. DJ Deepex on Twitch asks, if I have a Blazor WebAssembly application and the internet goes offline, I add a customer and the internet goes back up, will it automatically send the new customer, or do I have to write this kind of function by myself? Great question. Just like if it was a JavaScript SPA type of application or progressive web application, you need to handle that yourself. That data synchronization. Writing offline web applications is tricky. You can take advantage of local storage in the browser if you detect that the internet is offline. You can't reach the API, cache it locally, retry sometime later. You can absolutely do that. You need to write those capabilities. There might be a framework out there that'll do it for you, a NuGet package that'll help with that, but off the top of my head, I don't know of one, and I would end up writing it myself. Please tell you about my YouTube channel. So you can find me on YouTube, on Twitch, on GitHub, on Twitter, on PayPal. On PayPal? No. I am CSharpFritz in all the places. You can find my content. I'll drop those two links, and we're going to be on my GitHub in just a little bit. And of course, on Twitter, you can find me right there. Yeah, offline support is something that folks need to build themselves. That would be an excellent topic for a NuGet package to be able to queue up and manage those interactions. Nah, you're not late, Rizwan. Good to see you. Welcome in. Are we going to get Windows forms for Linux and Mac OS? No, you're not. No. They're called Windows forms. That's where Maui really contributes, because you can do Windows and Mac with those. Excuse me. Since I'm talking about deployment, Rizwan asks, are there any plans for single file deployment on IIS? Not to my knowledge. But why would you want single file deployment on IIS? Single file for an exe for your web application, maybe. Not sure. I'm going to wrap up the last bit of chat here, and then we'll get over and we'll talk about Visual Studio today. Ray on YouTube asks, comments, I agree with release often and take in user feedback. How many users can you get in the free tiers, and would it give the data? In the free tiers of Azure, depends on how you build your application. If you build your application as static content, static HTML out there, static HTML can run forever with no processing. So the question then becomes, how much network do you push through there? And I'm not sure there's a network limit on the free app service tiers. I don't know. I'd have to look at that. So depends on how complex your application is. During our SignalR demo that we gave here on this stream, I stood up a free app service tier and gave folks the address of, here's the application that's online that you can get to from anywhere on the internet and interact with and press buttons, and it would make images appear on my video. There were so many folks that hit those buttons so quickly that we used up all the free allocation literally in minutes, because we had thousands of people just hammering buttons every second. And we used up all the processing that was allocated. So, depends. The person you're talking to isn't a developer. I completely hear you, Roro. Humongous Fungus, hello. Good to see you on Twitch. There are huge differences, Ray, between Blazor WebAssembly and Blazor Server. It's the exact same code. It's just it's executing either in the browser or it's executing on the server. Starting with .NET 8, the lines get blurred and it becomes a heck of a lot easier to choose in your code at the page level and at the component level where you want your Blazor code to execute, not at the project level. Thindall, thank you so much for chiming in with some of those questions. $200 for 30 days Azure free credit. Lucindu says, I'd love to use Blazor to develop a desktop application like we use Electron JS to develop desktop applications. That's the Blazor hybrid with Blazor and .NET MAUI. That's exactly the model that you're looking for, Lucindu. It is straightforward. You should be able to step into that and start writing code in Blazor easily, and it just shows up inside of a Windows application. That said, I am writing a Blazor hybrid workshop. I'm hoping to debut it later this year. It's taking a lot of work to plan and work through and make sure I get the samples right. But stay tuned. I'll have that in a few months here as we work through it. IntelliSense for jQuery JavaScript methods. Sure, we can take a look at that when we get into the demo here today. Yes, C# with CSharpFritz. There's underscores in there. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Thindall. Free QA, that's right. What's new in the .NET world? Everything. Kubalelim asks, I know you can compare data changes with hashes. Where do you use this technique? Can you give me some examples? Thank you. I am using that. I'm using that in ClipTalk, where I'm storing a hash code for what is it? There's something that I'm caching, and I store a hash code, and I check the hash code before I reload the cache, something like that. I forget exactly where I'm doing it, but I'm just using the get hash code methods off of every object in C#. So I think that's time. I think we're at the end of our Ask Me Anything session there. Wow, we got a bunch of folks tuned in today. That is great. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Today we're going to dive in, and this is based on one of the most popular sessions that we have at Build or Ignite, where we talk about tips and tricks for Visual Studio. Gosh, how can I get more out of Visual Studio? How can I be a better developer with Visual Studio? There's so much that I can do with this, but am I using it enough? So let's talk about where Visual Studio came from, where it is. I'm not going to talk about where it's going. I don't want to get in trouble with the bosses. You don't want to make the bosses angry by talking about Visual Studio things that you're not supposed to talk about yet. The first rule of Visual Studio Club is you don't disclose the things that aren't public about Visual Studio. The second rule about Visual Studio Code is install it now. Let's have some fun here. Let's get in and talk about Visual Studio. I'm actually going to start on Wikipedia over here. Is it this button? I think it's this button. I think that's where I wanted to go. There we go. Heading over here. I think that I hit the right button, right? Yeah. There I am. Hi. It's me. It's Jeff. I'm over here in the corner. And this is the Wikipedia article for Visual Studio. It's been out. Technically, it's been available since 1997. There's been Visual Studio available for you. And there's a ton of features as part of this. When Visual Studio first came out, it was something that we called InterDev. And it was an integrated development tool for classic ASP and JavaScript development. HTML, JavaScript. And we hated it. I didn't work on the team at the time. My time at Microsoft started in 2013. We hated it. It was very cool to be able to get syntax highlighting for these three programming languages in one place, because you had syntax highlighting for the VB script that you wrote around your HTML and CSS, 4 languages, and JavaScript. You got syntax highlighting for all of that, and it was amazing because each language, even though it was all in one file, got different syntax highlighting. That was really great. But debugging was really, really tough. Integrating and running with other components that you had running on the web server, really, really tough. And there was a massive leapfrog ahead in 2001 when Visual Studio.net was released, and they combined the code editor and the debugger and the designer that we had in Visual Basic and Visual C++ into one tool that was available for us to work with. And these tools are still available as part of Visual Studio today. Your code editor, your debugger, a designer, whether it's for Windows Forms, WPF, there is a web designer in there. Class designer, yeah, you can do that. I don't know many folks that use the class designer. There's all kinds of windows and editors that you can use to interact with various parts and components of your entire solution. Testing tools, data integrations. It does pretty much everything that you need as a software developer. C++, C#, Visual Basic. They didn't list F# in here. Yeah, previously you could work with FoxPro in it and SourceSafe and J++ or J#. Those are from back in the day. There are 3 versions, 3 editions that you can get when you go to, hey, thank you. When you go to visualstudio.com, there are 3 editions you can get. Thanks for the advertisement. Not talking about you right now. Let's go over here. No, no. There's the 3 editions, but I'm looking for the community button. Yeah. No. Huh, they moved it on me. I did put a link to it here. This is the version that I recommend just about everybody get and install. If you're a new developer, if you are a student, even if you're at home working by yourself and you want to learn, you want to work with, you want to write your own projects, you want to build a little hobby project that's going to take care of IoT things that you have set up around the house. Install Visual Studio Community. It is completely free for you. Thanks. I don't want the feedback panel right now. I'm trying to teach something here. It is completely free for individuals. If you are a business or some sort of an organization that is not a nonprofit, if you're you can have up to 5 users using Visual Studio Community. So if you're a startup, you can use Visual Studio Community completely free. As soon as you get beyond 5, or if you're an enterprise, and there's these limitations here, more than 250 PCs, more than $1 million in revenue, they ask you to pay for a license at that point. So free for you to get started, free for you to start building a business, and then they ask, you're making significant money off of this. Hey, we'd like to get paid for this so we can continue investing in it. Is Lord Voldemort still one of the VS bosses? No. Tighter AI integration. Well, that's available now. We'll show that a little bit. Yeah, 1997. And yep. Continuing. Great tools make developers great by reducing the burden. Yes. So if you are making a profit, a significant profit, time to start paying for your tools. Pablo used to use Atom, but that is going to the recycle bin. Sorry to hear that. 3 editions, you probably have this, but this is the same but with a better license and someone else is paying it for you. Yes. Yeah, the download button is under the Copilot ad. If you don't make millions, fair to use however you'd like, right? You love this new paradigm in software, says Pablo. It was so hard to get started back in the day. Yes, I completely agree. Back in the day, sorry, $2,000 to get started buying a copy. $2,000 American to get a copy of the software so you can start writing software. Let's get you started. And that's Visual Studio. If you don't want to use Visual Studio, we're going to see in the next few weeks, you don't have to. There are free tools that you can use with no licensing requirements, no paid licensing requirements, that you can work with at the command line. You can extend and build any way that meets your needs and is completely open source. And we'll see that over the next few weeks in this series. But if you want a complete tool set that's built with support, that's available for you to call and get assistance with, Visual Studio is going to give you all of that. Thindall asks, is there a game Easter egg in Visual Studio? No. Does MS Blend make any sense? I don't think so anymore. I don't think so. All right, here we go. I'll answer this question since I'm talking about the editions here. Steven on YouTube asks, when would you upgrade from Visual Studio Community to Professional to Enterprise? Community to Professional, when you meet these licensing requirements. You've got more than 5 users, or your company is making more than $1 million, or you have more than 250 PCs in your company. That's when I would upgrade. You're required to upgrade to Professional by the licensing terms in order to stay compliant for support reasons. When would you upgrade to Enterprise? When you have complex systems that require additional performance, tuning, tracking, profiling, and additional testing requirements that you want to be able to have access to. That's when I would upgrade to Enterprise. So everything that I show you today is valid on the Community Edition. So Okay. So let's back up. I have a ton of tips here. Hotkeys, different features that we can take a look at. I didn't even put it here. I want to talk about the installer to get us started here, because if you're an older, say it right, Fritz. If you've got funny, multicolored, white-colored hair now because you are a wise developer beyond your years, huh? You like how I saved myself there? You may remember that when it came time to install Visual Studio, gosh, just install everything because you don't know when you might need it. Don't do that anymore. The installer is set up so that it has these various workloads to help get you just the things you need for the type of projects you're going to work on. If you're building web applications with ASP.NET, choose ASP.NET and web development. You're going to build with Node, fine, just choose Node, and it'll give you all the tools to build and deliver with Node. But you're going to get a little bit of Node actually in both of these, because these workloads contain a collection of various tools, features, and capabilities inside them that cross over depending on what types of things you're working on. There's things to be able to build and create Linux-based applications down here with C++. Well, some of those same tools are also available for ASP.NET developers. So they're installed in both. So .NET Desktop development has some things that are also in multi-platform app UI development. Choose liberally what type of project you're working on and pick those workloads appropriately. And when you choose them, you can even drill down and see, well, exactly which components. And back in the day, back in 2005, younger Jeff would say, give me everything. I don't care. I've got lots of drive space. I want it all. I might not be coding with C++ 14. I don't care. Install it. No, don't do that. You don't need to do that. But all the tools are here so that you can sort through and choose what to add and update. And quite frankly, I've updated and patched things here live minutes before streams start. I've done it live on stage at conferences. Don't be afraid of this. There's language packs. If I'm English, but I'm an English speaker, but there are language packs for you if you need an alternate language for Visual Studio. So don't be afraid of the installer. That should be my tip number one, is don't be afraid of it. Get in there and run this every now and again to update. All your updates come through this. They will appear inside Visual Studio. There's an update banner that'll pop up. Hey, there's updates available. Click here and we'll install them. Don't be afraid of the updates. There's a preview train and there's a release train. I use the preview version so that you can see the latest stuff here on the channel. Choose whichever one you'd like. They install separately from each other and they maintain separately. This way, if you want to try a new feature, run it in the preview branch. If it doesn't work the way you expected, if you're not having a good experience with that, roll over to the release branch and you can still continue to operate on the same code. The MSDN knowledge base, 8 CDs, that was early. It was dozens of CDs by the time they wrapped up, and it was DVDs too in there. So I'm loving the chatter on Twitch there and YouTube. Yes, you can do multi-line edit in Visual Studio Code and Visual Studio. I'll show that in a little bit here. You found a keyboard shortcut, but you must be pressing it wrong. Alt will get you there. So, all right. The folder was 2 by 3 per page, and there was something like 50 pages. Right? It was massive. Massive. So And there was a time in the early 2000s where you could go dumpster diving and find those CDs being thrown away, and pick up binders of Microsoft software. All right, let's get in and show you some of these tips. I'll drop this link in chat so that you can get to that. There's a ton of things that we're going to cover and show you, from basic keystrokes to all kinds of windows and things that you can interact with that are going to make you productive in Visual Studio. So let's start up. This is Visual Studio 2022. You see the little preview banner there. So, split view of the same file, like with VS Code. It's there. It's there. Let's talk about that. I'm going to open a new project. We'll start a new project here, just because it's going to be easy to kind of start a new project and tinker through there. Sure. So, all right. So here, one file that has all the capabilities that I could ever want in here. Kind of. Let's start writing some code. I'm going to write a class here. Let's just write a class called calculator, and I'm going to put a public static method in here that returns an int, and I'll call it add thank you. Here's our first extension that I want you to see. This is Visual Studio Copilot. It's suggesting based on the name of what I created there. Give me a multiply. Yeah, give me a multiply method. There we go. It's generating that code for me. Sure, give me a subtract method. What's that look like? There you go. I'm not writing any code. It's generating that for me. Question that came in from, where was it? Somebody said feature request, being able to split view of the same file. There you go. There is a little splitter up here that you can grab and be able to split that. You want to open a second copy of it? You can do that as well. You can open a second copy. I believe I was able to get... I'm not getting it to open. Nah, I popped it out. I didn't want to pop it out. Yeah. No, it's not giving me a second file. There is a way to get it to open as a second file, and I'm blanking on it right now. You want to be able to split vertically? Why? There used to be a way to split it vertically. Yeah, why would you want to be able to split it vertically? New window? Yeah, there we go. Now I've got two views of the same. And I can put this. You can drag and put multiple panels side by side. You can even pop them out. Put it on another screen if you'd like. Keep it docked so you can see the two side by side. So I have my first little method here. And I have code suggestions that not just are already being presented for us, right, from Copilot, but I can also control dot, and it's going to give me suggestions here. The little light bulb pops up here, but I can control dot, trigger that, and choose, well, hey, here's some other things you might want to do. So let's move that to its own file. And I can navigate to that file. Control T will do an all search up here, and I can start typing calculator, and it'll open that file. And now I have that file opened as well. As I'm interacting with this, right, I could say var foo equals, as I start typing, it gives me the IntelliSense to complete this. I can force that by hitting Control Space. Let me make sure I open Karnak here so you can see my keystrokes in the corner. So Control Space opens up and shows you, hey, here's some code completion. It's going to do that by default for you. Okay. When I have something that I do want to do, press Tab and it'll automatically complete that. And I can pass in my 2 arguments here, and now it's completed. While I'm inside that code completion window, right, up and down navigates around that, the up and down keys. But if I have other methods that are out there, add multiple numbers. Sure, give me a method to do that. So now if I say add, now I have multiple methods there. We know how to do this signature overloading, but if I want to look at the other signature, I press escape to get back into just my code, and I can press up and down and I can see those other signatures. I can generate a little bit of source code help to go with this. That is then available inside Visual Studio Code and other tools. This is my first addend, and this is my second addend. Returns sum of the 2 values. Nope. Oh. Come on now. Add multiple numbers. There we go. So now, as I'm typing, because I have that little bit of help there, I now get suggestions that describe exactly what that feature does. If you're building APIs for other folks to use, please use those code comments that describe what it is if you need to provide additional information about the methods, the properties, the classes that you're building. Autocomplete always trips you up. Never know if it's tab to complete or enter. Both work. Both. You can use the same shortcuts in Visual Studio that you have in other tools. If you go to Tools Options, there is a keyboard option here, and it's taking a second to load for some reason, and I don't know why. You can choose a model of keyboard mappings that you want it to look like, and it will adhere to those. So, all right, we've seen a little bit about some of that interaction. While I'm typing and working with that, if you hold down the Control key, let's do that again, but let's write some more code. We're gonna multiply. Sure, go ahead. Sure. So while I'm typing in here and I get that code completion coming up there, I can't see the lines below it. Hold down Control, makes it semi-transparent. You can then work with that code. A lot of folks like to copy and paste to get code elsewhere there. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. But gosh, what I really want to do is cut that and paste it there. That's nice. Everybody knows Control X, Control C, Control V. Those are kind of common in Windows. But what you can do in Visual Studio Code does this also. Hold down the Alt key, press up, press down, and it will move that around in Visual Studio for you. That's one of those nice to haves when you're working on something and gosh, these are in the wrong order. Let me just move it there. Real easy to work with. And you know what? I don't want multiply to be there, so I want to comment that out. That's annoying to have to go find that block of code and highlight. Gosh, I mistyped there. Commented it out right away. Control K, Control C. Boom. Commented. Control K, Control U. Uncommented. You want to comment out everything? Fine. Highlight it all. Control K, Control C. Uncomment it. The same thing. Control K, Control U. Boom. Gone. Nice. Control T, you can specify and say, well, not just search for the calculator, but go find the add method. And it'll go find methods. It'll find various members of your content. You can have it search for files, and it will search for files, and it comes back very, very quickly. And you can work with those all navigating around inside Visual Studio. Let me add a web project to this solution because there's a web tip here I want to make sure that I get to. Sure, I'll add an ASP.NET Core web app. That's fine. Yeah, whatever. Just put it down out there. Do the thing. So we'll talk about my tab bar there in a minute. Let's go into Pages, go to Index, and we have some HTML out here. The Alt up and down works in HTML also. Okay. If I write something here, let's put in H2. This is my home page. Of course, it does tag autocomplete there. And gosh, that should really be an H1. Go ahead and change the tag. It modifies and updates both the end tag and the begin tag. Maybe you'd like to have that inside of its own div. Shift-Alt-W wraps automatically in its own div, and you can change that to a span, to whatever tag that you want there. Maybe it's an article, whatever. Okay. Real easy to build and get those blocks of code running and interactive for folks to be able to write code faster. Yeah, you're fine, Tyndall. That's fine. You always vertical split. Horizontal splitters are a strange breed. So, window, new window, and you have a second copy of it, and move that to another screen. And of course, you saw there's all kinds of ways that you can dock. Place that wherever you'd like. And you have another tab group then that you can work with. Or pull it all back together as one tab group. I should really put that back to the top tabs that most folks are used to. So when you have a separate tab group like this, you have separate tabs over here. Let me see. JSON and XML, you can paste as classes. So if I have some JSON, I think there is some. Nope, it's not here. Oh, there was a question about JavaScript IntelliSense. So there's jQuery. jQuery is here in the project. It's right there. If I'm writing the code for my application, right? I can. Yeah, I'm not in. I'm trying to remember my jQuery syntax. But it's identified all the script that's available here, and I can start working with it directly. Right? I don't think. No. But it should just work out of the box, working with your JavaScript and the IntelliSense there as well. I was talking about JSON and XML. Yeah, go back to the JavaScript file. So if we have some code here, right? And yeah, this, let's have a person. No, we'll say var person equals, right? Name, given name equals Jeff. Actually, if I want this as JSON, I need these like that. No, me. That's right. That's my age. Yes, I am employed. What else are you going to suggest there? Sure, we can take an address. That's fine for sample data. Sure, Seattle works for me. That's fine. Okay, I'm not even going to include postal code. So now I have a person object. If I grab this, right, copy that onto the clipboard, and go back over to, I'll go to my calculator, and no, go back to program. I like program. I'll go down here. You can go edit. Where is it? Paste special. Paste JSON as classes. Yes, I know. It isn't valid. Because those are supposed to be colons. Aren't they? Yeah. That's what I did wrong. I get my C# and JavaScript mixed up. Alright, edit. Base special, JSON as classes. It doesn't know what the root object is, but that matches exactly the JSON that we had. That's been built into Visual Studio since 2013. Let me catch up on chat here a little bit. You can copy paste special. Yep, there you go. Just talked about that. Would I recommend Copilot? Absolutely, I would. Yep. It's definitely saved a lot of time here. Write a... Sure. Write a method that takes a string and returns it in the reverse order. Yeah, something like that. So do it. Come on. Yeah, I know. Do it. Write a method that takes a string and returns it in the reverse order. And here in Copilot chat, it's got some code for me. Yes, insert it right there. Looks good. Nothing to it. There we go. So, didn't have to think about it. It just generated it for me. You use Control X to move things around. That's okay. Control K, Control D. Yes, that's another one I use a lot. It does create comments appropriate for HTML and for whatever language you're writing in. JavaScript as well. CSS, it'll format that for you. Multi-line edit. Let's do that one. So, if I hold down Alt, I can click into it. Alt and Control is what it is. I can get into both places, and I can start typing at the same time. I don't have it in the content there, but I can press F2 on an object, and I can rename it. And it will refactor and update that reference and even the name of the file because I renamed the class in all the locations. Document ready there. There we go. If it was a WinForm, we don't have to code HTML so we can faster your project. Copilot saved you 15 minutes yesterday on a 2-hour stream. Yeah, that's an hour per day. Literally saves you tons of time on that. Would I recommend Copilot, or is IntelliCode good enough? Give Copilot a try. It's free for a month. Give it a try. I recommend it, yes, but give it a try. It's free for a month. It's very much worth it. Does Copilot use GPT-4? It uses an enhanced model that knows about the code on GitHub, the publicly available code on GitHub. And so it's not quite GPT-4. All right. So we've written some code here. I have a simple little calculator here. Let's talk about navigating around our code. Of course, Control F, just like in other tools, allows you to find text. Oh, I'm not in the calculator. There we go. There we go. And it finds everywhere that text is. If I want to find it across the entire application, Control Shift F will give you a pop-up dialog that you can then use and choose to either match case, match that as a whole word, even use regular expressions. Search across your entire solution, maybe just the current project, maybe just the current folder. There are folks that work in JavaScript that have things nested and in specific folders. You don't want to look across an entire project. Just look in this folder. You can do that. Look in just the open documents. These are the only ones I want you to operate in. And you can also do Control H to do find and replace. Control Shift H will do find and replace across the entire project or whatever scope you want. Solution, project, folders, open documents, your choice. Control G will get you to navigate to a specific line number, and you're there now. Don't forget about that. F12 will help you to navigate to the definition of whatever the object is under your cursor. So I'm here on my use of the multiply method. F12 jumps me right to that. Control F12, I'm sorry, Shift F12 will take you and show you here's all the places where it's used. If this is on an interface, you can navigate to implementations of that. So let's create an interface here. Let's create, these are statics. Let's take these back to instance methods. Right, which means this doesn't work. Right. So now I'll do that. And I should have used, there we go. So if I have an interface here, let's go back to the calculator. I can extract an interface, Control dot extract interface. And I can choose, well, what do you want to put in the interface? Sure. Call it iCalculator, because the Fritz calculator is more important and specific. And up here, when I'm working, I can say this is an iCalculator that I've received. It happens to be an instance of Fritz calculator. Well, if I press F12 when I'm using multiply, it goes to the definition in the interface. If you press Control F12, it goes to the implementation of it. Very important for folks that want to use interfaces to go back and forth. F5 is integrated in your muscle memory. Totally. Totally. Do I have a complete list of all the keyboard shortcuts? The ones that I'm sharing here, and there's a couple that I'm remembering and showing here, but the ones that I've written up for today are right there at that link. Let me see. When you're navigating around, use your mouse a little bit because, gosh, as you're scrolling and looking at things, you have the previous and the back and forward buttons you use in the browser. They work in Visual Studio too. And you can navigate back and forth with your mouse. That's pretty cool to use. There's also, right, you see these methods, they're pretty big here. They take up a lot of space. There's a little box next to it so that you can compact those. That's nice. You can do that by hand at the keyboard. Control M. Control M will do that twice. And I believe it's Control ML will open everything. Control ML a second time will collapse everything all the way to the class. And you can open up and control that individually. There is also the ability to put bookmarks in your code. I use this occasionally in very, very large solutions. So if I want to remember where I was working over here in this for each statement, let's say, Control B, T. You see the little bookmark icon that appears there in the gutter. Now when I go and I'm working somewhere else, I'm over here working in my index page. Gosh, I forget. And here, let's even close some of these other files out here because I don't want this looking like an unmade bed out here. Go ahead, save that. Sure. And I want to go back to, gosh, that bookmark. I was working on that thing that time. Let me go back there. Control BN jumps to the next bookmark. Gosh, where do I have all my bookmarks? There is a bookmarks window that you can get into here. Bookmark window. Control WB. Check this out. It opens this window down here, and it will show you all the bookmarks that you have throughout your code so that you can jump right to them, right? I'm over here working in another file. Where was that other place? You can have dozens of bookmarks set up for places of interest. You can even give them names, right? Working on the sum function so that you remember what these are, right? And double click on that and jump right back to that bookmark. Really handy to have that capability. I've kind of skipped over the tab bar that I have open over here. I don't know, can you even see the tab bar? Or is that scrolled off the side? I've hidden OBS. You can't see my tab bar. Let me bring this over. My scroll bar, I'm sorry. Right? Oh. Yeah, move that over. My scroll bar doesn't look like a normal scroll bar. Check this out. There's a... up in... It's behind me. I'll click it up there. There is a scroll bar options. Not just scroll here, top, bottom, and all those. Check out the scroll bar options. Show horizontal, vertical scroll bars on the window. Yeah, that's nice. Show annotations over the vertical scroll bar. Changes, marks, errors. If I turn this back into, I can have it as a bar or as a map. And that's the normal scroll bar that we're used to seeing. But as we're working with content here, you see how I get the little annotation in yellow? That, hey, this is code that you changed, right? I could even put some errors in here. And where it's going to... You're not going to show me the coding error there? You're not going to give me a red underline? That's a bad thing? Come here. There we go. Look. All right, you see how there's syntax issue there? I can get some information and see annotations on that, especially if I open up map mode. I like it normally at medium, and it will not just show me a little bit of an outline of the code that I wrote. Why isn't it showing me my annotations? It should be showing me. I'm not getting it. It normally shows. I'm not getting. That changes the errors in the caret position. Normally that appears over here, and it's not. I'm a big fan of the map mode, though. Because I can see a little bit of an outline of the code. Not the exact code, but a little bit of an outline. And when I do scroll, well, everything's fitting on the screen because this isn't a very big file. In bigger projects, you can see a heck of a lot more. Let's go open... Yeah, let's open like the Bootstrap CSS. Right, look at that map popping up there. As I scroll through this, no, I'm not getting it. It was giving me a little bit of a call out. Yeah, preview tooltip on those. But I'm not getting it to pop up now. Wonder what I'm doing wrong. But it should show you a little bit of a preview. Hey, this is what this thing is. But I really do like this map now so that I can see here's what's going on. And it even shows me these methods are collapsed. Right? These code blocks are collapsed. So when they're all open, it's just one clear block. All right. So continuing, so we talked a little bit about the scroll bar. I should talk about the tabs. Of course, most folks are used to seeing tabs across the top. You can customize this a lot. Jump into set tab layout. I like to put my tabs on the right. You see it pop up there on the right side so that I have all of them available, and it gives me a little bit more vertical space. And when I have a really big screen like I do, having these over here makes it easy to see. Here's all the files that I have open. Not just that, but go back into options here, and you can configure the sorting. Do you want the most recent tabs, most recently opened tabs first, or last? You want them at the bottom or on the far right. I have mine grouped by project, being grouped by path. The width information, bold, close buttons on the document tabs. Give me one on the document well also. I think that's the one I'm looking for. That hasn't been there. Invisible tabs in italic in the tab drop-down menu. I'm not sure what invisible tabs are. And if it's dirty, how do you want it indicated? You see there's dots next to these to indicate they need to be saved. And I've turned on colorized tabs by regular expression here. So there is regular expressions that I have configured that based on which tabs are open, they're different colors. Right? Depending on what they are, what they do. But you can also say, well, different projects get different types or different file extensions. And you can even see right away, these CS files are in this teal. Here's CS HTML in yellow, JavaScript file in red. That's cool. That works. So lots of options to help you customize and get that to look and feel a way that highlights for you and your human eyes to be able to decide and discover exactly what you need inside your project. Let's get to the things that folks use every day here. Let me open program back up. So of course, right, let's do a console. There are snippets in here, shortcut things like CW to do console write line. You can write and generate your own snippets for code that you write frequently and save that in there so that you can automatically create those blocks of code. Control-Shift-S is doing screenshot. Shouldn't be. It should be doing save all. But of course, F5 will start and debug the application. Somebody mentioned, hey, I'm used to using F5. That's what I always use. There it goes, running to do hello world, and 3 is my sum. But of course, there's all kinds of stuff you can do with the debugger, right? I could put a breakpoint in there, start the application, and it stops right there. And the debugger in Visual Studio is really good. I can mouse over things here, and it will tell me exactly what they are. So nothing's assigned to calc yet. I mouse over it, and it tells me, well, that's of type Fritz calculator. And I can do other things here. I can say there's a run to this statement. I can even say we'll run back to this one over here. It didn't run back. Right? I could say run to this statement. I can even skip forward here. There's hotkeys to go back and forth. F11 will step into it. You can press F10 to say skip over this if I don't want it. You can press Shift F11 to even say run all this code and exit and give me control at the next possible place that I can break. But I can also right click here and I can add conditions to this breakpoint. Check this out. Conditions. And I could say only break if date time now second. I don't know why you would do this, but only break if it's an even number of seconds. So cannot be set. The condition failed to execute. The error returned as breakpoint condition must evaluate to a Boolean operation. Oh, duh. edit that condition. Yes, I know. Equals 0. There, if it's even. So now it'll only break. Yes, I know. I know. Yeah, that's fine. So different things that you can do there. You can pop those, right? So if I go down here and we run this, there is a little pop-up and a pin there, and you can pin that so that it's always visible here, and you can interact with that. So this becomes a pinned watch window. So when it breaks, it evaluates and shows you all the stuff that you've asked to be evaluated in here. So I can very easily pin other values and have them in there as well. If I want to control how this displays, there is a debugger display attribute that you can put on this, and you can specify, well, what do you want this to show? Fritz's cool calculator. I can key in a block of text, and when I mouse over it, it's called Fritz's cool calculator. I can also make that a value from somewhere inside of here. So if we create a public, create a property, and I'm just going to put date time now, and I'll make this property just return that, just for the purposes of having something simple. So now I can say, well, what's the value that should be displayed? I can say now, and it will output that value. So there it is. You put inside curly braces whatever instance property you want, and it'll put that in the box there. So options for you to customize how that looks. You don't just have to put it on a class. You can put it on properties inside of here, right? So I don't want to do that, right? And I want this to display, right? Maybe I specifically want this to display the number of seconds, right? I can apply that format. And now when it breaks, right, I can open up my calc object, and it has a now object, and you can see it didn't apply just the seconds. There's a link to the debugger display attribute notes there. Don't have too much time left here, but there's games you can play here with the formatting of this, so that you can be sure it pops out. A way that we used to do this was to override the toString method, so that you could put a specific name on this thing. My calculator. Right. Yeah, rebuild. So, oh, it's got the debugger display on it. Take that off. Take that off. And run that again. So now it has, right, the toString, whatever. So if you have a toString method on a class, it will evaluate and place that up there, and it will be overridable by that debugger display, and you can more accurately see some of the things that are available around what you're debugging in there. What's my favorite attribute? My voice is my favorite attribute. Oh, not talking about me. There's all kinds of places that I don't know what my favorite attribute is. There's all kinds of ways that you can debug in different locations. So I've been debugging here natively in Visual Studio. You can also debug remotely on another machine. So you can certainly go into debug, and when I look at the properties here, I can specify use a remote machine. I have a link in the documentation for today's session with information about how to install and get remote debugging working on Azure App Service, on an Azure virtual machine, on another web server that you have locally to you, another application that's running somewhere else on another machine. There are tools for you to download and install on that machine that you want to attach and debug on. And you can get this running and debug somewhere else locally. Really cool stuff for you to be able to work with. Let me see here. Of course, if you build and put this inside of a Docker container, right, that is available by default inside of, I can do this with both of these applications. Let's do it with the web application. I can choose add Docker support, prompts me for an operating system. We saw this previously. And it generates all the information I need for that. But you know what? I want to debug in here and stop right there. Well, I'm going to run that web application. I'm going to run it on Docker, and I can debug into it from Visual Studio. It's a Windows application running a website on Linux inside a container. And you can see there's the container running. It started, my browser launched, and there I am at the breakpoint inside my application. I'll let that finish running, and there's the home page. Right, this is my home page, and we'll put a div down here. Right, the current time is, and make that UTC if you don't mind. Save that, and there's my breakpoint. Let that go. I need to can I? Nah, I'm gonna have to restart it. That's fine. And so there's my timer. That's buried inside the Razor page. That's fine. I can put a breakpoint there too. And refresh, and it hits that breakpoint inside the Razor page. I'm debugging my code for the web inside a Docker container from Visual Studio. That makes your Docker development so much easier. Not only that, but I can see all the Docker logs right here using the containers panel inside Visual Studio. It's all available for you to be able to debug and see what's going on there. You want to see what's on the file system inside that container? Sure, there's the file system. Open and available for you in Visual Studio, okay? What ports are open and available? There you go, there's the port mapping. It's all been inspected and available. You can see the details inspected for you all, and environment variables that were passed in as well. Docker container development with Visual Studio is amazing now. Of course, you can build and develop for mobile apps with .NET MAUI. So let's add a MAUI project real quick. Folks were asking about MAUI Blazor, so let's open one of those. It's the same thing. When this is running, you can attach, I'm on Windows, you can attach an Android device, and you can debug on that device. So MAUI app, it's going to build for the Windows machine, but if I had attached an Android device, I can configure it here in the Android Device Manager, and I can debug the application working over on Android. The debugger is very capable and goes where you need it to be. All of those things that I showed you around logging and watch windows all work in all those places. Let me come back here to the console app because there were a couple things that I missed here. While that's running, there is a locals window that you can view. Where is it? View. I don't see it. I don't see it, so I'm going to use Control Q to find the feature. Locals window. Thank you. There it is. I want to put that on the bottom. And it's very small. My apologies. But it'll show you, here's all the variables in the current scope. Here's all the variables. Here's their values and the types, all visible for you down here at the bottom. And I can drill in and see all the properties on those without having to add some sort of a watch. There's also, I can see the entire call stack, so I can see the entry point into this. So if I step into that, I'm inside my add method, go back to the call stack, and I can even walk back up and see where it called into those various places. So I have this excellent ability to scan across. How did I get to where I am and go back? And I can see when I'm in those other locations, I can see where the locals for that location that I'm at. So if I go back into the add method and I go over to locals, it doesn't know about the other states of things. It only knows the locals for where the current highlighted line is. Okay. Off-topic question bitwise. I believe it is, but off-topic. Interface extraction, yes. Oh my gosh, there is a ton of those that you can do that are buried under here. These are generated from what are called analyzers and code fixers. These are other bits of C# code that folks have written that are available for you to use inside your projects. There's a number of them that are installed for you by default. You can see them inside your projects. Let me go. I know there's some nice ones over here for the web. You can see the analyzers that are configured here for you. There's also code generators in here, but you can see the recommendations, the coding rules that they're going to look at and make recommendations for. Folks are writing these all the time. They're available on NuGet for you to install and add to your project. I don't use too many outside of the default ones that come with the various projects that I work with, the various project types, but check those out. They're really great. Not only do they tell you, hey, this doesn't feel right, this isn't the right way to use this feature, but they'll also give you options to fix them. Last things that I want to show you here before we get out of here, I want to show you on the marketplace, the Visual Studio marketplace, you can get a whole bunch of themes. So you can customize Visual Studio to look the way you want. Midnight Purple 2077. Let's go install that. I can go into extensions, manage extensions. I get the same interaction with the marketplace here. What was it called again? Midnight Purple 2077. Go find that. Midnight Purple 2077. There it is. Go ahead, put that on. And I need to restart Visual Studio for that theme to take effect. Visual Studio theming is a little bit more complex than it is for other editors. So they've been doing some work to simplify, make that easier for folks to work with. There's the modify. Yes, and the other tasks. I don't care. Install the theme if you don't mind. Takes a little bit longer than I hoped. Come on now. There's nothing out there. Finish installing already. Is there a green terminal theme? I don't see. I just see the VS. No. I don't. I see a red terminal theme. There we go. And I'll reopen that same console app. And when we go into our themes, it should be in the list. So themes, Come on. Right? That's fine. On the line endings. So, themes. So, inside the options, color theme, there's Midnight Purple 2077. And now it's updated with the new colors that I want. That's available for you. There's also a theme converter that the team has built and is working on that allows you to bring in themes from Visual Studio Code, from a JSON file, convert them, and get them running for VS Code. Great tools available for you. There's a link for this in the notes for today's stream. There are 3 extensions that I wanted to call out. GitHub Copilot, I already mentioned at the beginning. There's a spell checker that I have installed here that I really, really like. It is... I don't see it. I don't see it. I have... Why don't I see it? I thought I had that installed. Yeah, the Visual Studio Spell Checker. Have a spell checker installed so that it catches some of your coding misspellings. You're going to want that. I thought I had it installed. It does recommend some misspellings by default, but get the more advanced one to work with. And of course, the last one that I like to show is LiveShare. LiveShare is a tool that allows you to share your current Visual Studio instance so that other folks can jump in and collaborate with you. So start LiveShare session. We're a little bit over time here. Yes, go ahead, connect. I'm gonna pull a whammy here. Yes, make it read only. That link. Click that link. You'll have to log in with GitHub or with your Visual Studio account, and you will appear inside my project, live here on stream. And it can take up to 30 people connected and interacting there. The live stream session is open. I used to do this all the time on stream and let folks connect in and be able to view and interact with what we're doing. There we go. Yep. So, and there's a live share chat over there. So, and we can see folks jumping in. Yep. Show me the live share window. There we go. And you can see here's the folks that are connected, and they're able to navigate around and interact with code. So I can see exactly where they're working and navigating around the application. Anybody can do this. Pair programming, it's amazing to work with. That's live share, free for you to use and interact with across your projects in Visual Studio. It also works not just with Visual Studio, but Visual Studio Code as well. All right, I need to wrap it up. We are just a little bit over on time, and that's okay. Let me grab that link for today's notes, and let's head back here. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Yeah, imagine 30 people trying to edit one file. Totally. There's the link to the GitHub notes for today's stream. We talked a little bit about Visual Studio. Some of my favorite tips, tricks, hotkeys, features that you'll see me use all the time on these streams, interacting, working on projects. We're going to continue. We're going to do more of this, talking about our tools. And next time, we're going to talk more about Visual Studio Code for C# developers. All kinds of features that we want to get into and talk about on VS Code. Lots of updates just made available for us, including the C# Dev Kit. That'll be coming up next week, next Wednesday, right here on the Visual Studio channel on Twitch and on the .NET channel on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you've got some tips out there, if you saw something or you used something in Visual Studio that I didn't cover here, let me know in the comments just below this video on YouTube so I can add them into the list on that GitHub document so that folks can try out and learn from each other here. All right? If you're watching on YouTube, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Check out some of the other videos that we have. They're right over here and just below in the playlist, all right? And if you're watching on Twitch, it's time for a raid. Let's set up, let's find somebody else who's streaming on the big Twitch TV network that we can get you connected to, that's doing something cool, that's doing something fun. And I see it. Our friend Ed Charbonneau is running the Blazor Power Hour stream over there on the Code It Live channel. Thank you so much. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. If it's just ending, if you're already into Thursday, I hope you have a fantastic Thursday. I wish you good health and good coding. Get ready to say hi to my friend Ed and the team at Code It Live. Take care.